Top 10 action movies of all time, part 2.
Last time we spent 5 slots covering the major action subs. God help us if it isn't motherfucking Die Hard.
Oh, number 5 is Die Hard, okay. It says intro, they gotta change that. Alright, we're back to it. Die Hard. Spot 5.
No more table. Where are you going, pal? Next time you have a chance to kill someone, don't hesitate.
Yippee-ki-yay! That's me on Siege.
Thanks for the advice.
So much energy has been
I thought it was me for a second. No, apparently it was me, and I don't even know what the hell happened. I'm looking over here, it says everything's all good. It's green.
It balances its heaviness with its levity with grace. And
yeah, but I had no idea anything was even happening.
Without ever seeming excessive. John McClane is built with bottomless competence and an endearing vulnerability. A rare combination amongst his cohorts in the era. And then
It was buffering for some reason. No, it was me.
Detail in the film fits perfectly amidst the others.
Bud told me.
Advances the action precisely and is also communicated with perfection, which, if you saw our last installment,
Die
is
Hard.
an important piece of subtle praise that is rarer than gold. Awesomeness fills seats. Awesomeness is easy, maintaining sense and coherence while blowing our minds with the newest, coolest set piece.
Don't have kids.
Over and over,
Don't do it.
to get you in the history books. And if you've got some of the genre's best characters at the same time, well, you might just be Die Hard.
Number 4.
It wasn't the only national cinema going through its heyday in the 80s and 90s. Just as important and influential, and maybe even a little bit more insane, was the appetite for action in Hong Kong. Coming on the heels of the 70s Kung Fu New Wave that saw the Shaw brothers and Bruce Lee launch the regional cinema.
Oh, Bruce Lee. Man, that was
good.
good.
The 80s and 90s brought us Jackie Chan and Jet Li and Donnie
Jet
Yen
Li.
and Sue Hark and Yu Ping and Johnny To and so much more. Here we find Police Story and Super Cop and City on Fire and Tiger King
Super Cop.
and A Hero Never Dies. But nobody's work exemplified and
Better
emblematized the
Tomorrow.
egregiously violent excesses of the era, like the step print, dove-flying bullet ballistics of John Woo. His entire pre-Hollywood career is
John Woo, bro.
ever-improving balls-to-the-wall
He's
ballistics
crazy.
and saxophone, from A Better Tomorrow to Just Heroes, The Killer, and Bullet in the Head. But he really topped himself and everyone else in the entire world with his career high watermark, Hard Boiled.
Hard Boiled. John Woo's fantastic, though. He also made a video game. He loves those double pistols, bro. He loves it.
Hardboiled starts in the tea house and ends in the hospital, bookending itself with 2 of the best, most Hong Kongiest, most John Woo-iest sequences this side of the Killer's church finale. And it's no tea party in between them either. The film is chock full of Woo's signature tropes. Hard drinking, jazz-listening, brooding cops who dual-wield pistols as birds flap in slow-mo, jumping from cover to unleash never-ending clips before engaging in gun fu. And in the 2 cops
Gun
to
fu.
take down bad guys plot, we just want to make sure you all either
That's funny.
learn or remember that Chow Yun-fat's sax-playing hero character is named Tequila. We think
Tequila.
that says quite a lot.
Nice.
In the aftermath of 2 decades that saw action production numbers crash back down to earth as the various bubbles popped, it seems to us that from the ashes, 3 distinct aesthetic trends in the genre have emerged. The first seems like the simplest outgrowth of...
I'm not a fan of Mission Impossible.
A style that leans into the humor and insanity permitted by the increasingly bonkers conflicts that audiences had learned to enjoy. This is the
Fast,
over-the-top
Furious,
action
not-
scene. Increasingly invincible
Not a fan.
heroes take on increasingly
Rambo is awesome.
impossible obstacles in increasingly
Live Free or Die Hard was
suicidal
great.
ways. The set pieces are ever bigger, focuses on the novel and new in stunt and vehicle and CGI work.
Swordfish was pretty good.
Progressive sense of, oh no, they
Expendables
won't. Oh,
was
yes, they
fantastic.
did.
Planet Terror was one of my
Total
favorite
Recall,
movies.
Desperado,
Total
gave way to
Recall.
modern action insanity like those in the later Fast and Furious franchise.
Oh, please don't
And
say
in Crank,
Fast.
And
Crank.
John Wicks.
Crank
John
was
Woo
amazing.
comes to America
Face
and makes
Off was
Face
great,
Off.
too.
Robert Rodriguez gives us
Sin
Sin
City.
City. We find more explicit parodies of the decades past in films like The Expendables and Shoot 'em Up. But as far as contemporary excess in action is concerned, our favorite belongs to a loving send-up slash homage slash ripoff slash evolution that seems to operate on a never-enough ethos from our very own Quentin Tarantino.
Oh,
the
Kill Bill.
Bills.
Yeah. Bud loves Kill Bill. I'm not, like, I think it's alright. Like, Uma Thurman did a great job, you know what I mean? But Kill Bill was like not my go-to.
The excess nexus of all things both awesome and extra as an exploitation kung fu samurai spaghetti western animation revenge extravaganza.
For real.
Where else but in this action epic in 2 parts can you find 1 on 80 bloodbaths, chain mace duels, insanely campy training sequences, multiple eye plucks, and one of the most badass action heroes this side of the Pacific. Tarantino managed to funnel.
Oh, they're doing Kill Bill 1 and 2?
Reference everything, steal everything, mock everything else style into a loving elevation of all the extremes.
It's Quentin Tarantino.
Nearly every fight sequence contains a new form of craziness. The choreography comes from the very best. There's hardly a top it doesn't go over, and that's exactly how something like this should be.
All right, number 2.
Reacting against the absurdity of the over-the-top trend,
Wolverine was good.
A particular aesthetic has also developed.
Don't know that one.
Most familiarly described as gritty and realistic, this kind of action film was
Born
best
Identity was good. Born Supremacy was good. Born Ultimatum was good.
Moves from bigger is
Not a fan of Fast and Furious.
Intensity in the intimate. Camera work is more likely handheld than swooping on a crane.
Don't know that one.
More likely flawed or
that was
past their
amazing.
prime, or at least a little foul.
Never saw Atomic Blonde.
Consequences seem more dire, and knives become a renewed threat, whereas before bazookas and fighter planes had almost lost their danger. Here we find modern greats like Drive, Eastern Promises, Taken, Hannah, the Elite Squad films, Collateral, Atomic
I only knew
Blonde,
some of those.
and Man from Nowhere. Even the Bond films, forever dedicated to the
the
side
new
of things,
Bond
took
films
a
aren't
detour
the
more towards
greatest.
this sort of action with the introduction of the Daniel Craig Bond. However, we think
He's
the
all right.
best film inside this category actually predates pretty much all of these. Prescient in so very many ways, here we gotta pick Michael Mann's Heat.
Heat. I've never seen this movie.
Heat has just barely enough action sequences to even deserve consideration as an action film, which should tell you something about their quality that we're picking it. There's perhaps never been an action movie that felt.
You mean to tell me he didn't have to reload one?
Guns came out. Only Zero Dark 30 and
That
Sicario
was a good
come
one.
close. Planned, choreographed, and trained intensively by Special Forces soldiers, never has the sound, blocking, photography, and intensity of an action sequence been so deeply felt. But we also think a lot of credit is due to the exceptional acting of Kilmer, De Niro, Pacino, and Sizemore.
Oh, wow.
Performances that really exemplify the terror, adrenaline, mania, and stakes that finding yourself in a real-life, not a movie honest-to-God firefight would actually bring. They are professional but not superhuman, disciplined under pressure but not calm. You get page ferocity of a rabid bulldog, serving up blood-curdlingly vicious action nearly from go. It trades in mostly all its plot, character, backstory, and theme for one thing and one thing only: action. And here, Gareth Evans and his Indonesian stunt team are absolutely first-rate.
Damn.
But when all you're doing is fighting for 2 hours straight, you have to be more than good at it. You have to be constantly innovating. So the raid sets about exploring all the different
What's up,
ways
Ethan?
to hurt, hardly shying away from the blood-drenched corporeality of it all, but to turn to the next murder. And come climax time, when it's time to turn things up yet another notch, the pain and mayhem these ruthless men inflict upon each other surpasses all normal decorum. And that's what's
This
so
looks
special,
good.
and to some, a little concerning about this.
There were like
style,
3 of them. I
which
can't
is
really
beyond
remember the details too clearly.
sanitized violence we
Talk about
all
Ong Bak?
agreed is acceptable into a
No, I have not, pizza.
usually reserved for
Not yet.
horror. But this is action. These are modern gladiators, and we're not
Wow.
here to judge the moral consequences of it all. We just pick the ones that do what they do best, and the raid is certainly among them, which is why
Really?
we think it's one of the best action.
Well, they did say that it came from like another video. So
what do
right
you
here
think?
they
So the
talk
raid
about
sets in this last
so
niche.
Old Boy,
Old Boy, Brawl and Cell Block,
Brawl and Cell Block
A Prayer
99.
Before Dawn, Bone Tomahawk, Green.
Well, hold on. 2 separate but important influences. This is where they go over it.
Transgressive sadism of dark
Sword
Japanese
of
action
Doom.
that began way back with Sword of Doom, and then resurfaced
And then
bigger
Battle
and better on the global
Royale.
stage in Battle Royale, and the extra lethal martial
then
arts style
Ong
of
Bak.
newer Southeast Asian styles. First breaking out in Ong Bak, continuing
And then
to
the
this
night comes for us. That's it. So Ong Bak and then the night comes for us.
day in the night comes for us, and reaching its apex. in
And
the
then
last
it goes into the Raid Redemption. Yeah, those are really good picks. I mean, I'll have to see those movies because they look really good.
So, what do
but
you
those are the
disagree?
top 10 action movies of all time, according to CineFix on IGN. Good picks.